Hello, everyone, and welcome to this episode of the Justle podcast. Justle is a community for job seekers to come together, share insights, and tips and tricks for landing your next role. Our goal here is to have authentic conversations with folks who have been out there, recruiters, people on a job seeker journey, career coaches, startup advisors, and maybe even add some therapy for some really tough days. I'm your host, Ernie Raposa. I work in technology by day and have a small practice as a career and leadership coach. I'm also a co-founder of Justle, and I'm super passionate about helping people succeed through their big challenges. Our special guest today is Ali Glaser. Ali's a pretty darned awesome person, but also an executive coach who works with leaders, whether it's emerging leaders or senior executives, in both individual coaching relationships as well as providing team training within organizations. In addition to her coaching practice, Ali is a senior leader in the nonprofit sector and has been leading teams and organizations for more than 20 years. She is a professor of social work at Rutgers University, and much of her coaching, teaching, and leadership development focuses on human behavior and self-care. And just to be clear, if you ever read her name, it's pronounced Glaser, not Glacier. Ali, welcome. Tell us about your coaching journey here.
Hey, Ernie. Well, thank you so much for having me. This is really going to be a fun time together. My coaching journey, I've been receiving executive coaching for many years and also leadership development training. And it's always been a passion of mine and really dates back like 25 years ago. I remember just being in a conference room at my first job. I was working in Philadelphia, and there was a leadership consultant in the room setting up for our strategic planning session. It was the first of its kind for me. And I started questioning her about like, oh, how did you get this job? And unfortunately, she took that as like me asking her like if she was qualified, but really it was because I was already thinking like, I want to be her one day.
Right.
And I never let go of that sort of vision, even though it wouldn't be for many years, decades even, but this decades long vision of mine kind of just came together in the last year and a half as I started taking more courses on coaching and getting a coaching certification. And before that, doing a lot of training in Enneagram and other personality typing systems. And it all just sort of culminated in, I'm going to launch this business and I'm going to put myself out there and start working with people in a coaching relationship. I've been doing it now for about a year and a half, and it's been fantastic.
Yeah. And just full disclosure here, Ali and I have been in the same cohort through CTI, Coactive Training Institute. And it's been amazing for me to see your journey from, well, this is new, to you have this great website and presence, and you're putting yourself out there. And we'll flash your website here a couple of times. Ali Glaser, it's executive performance, right? Ali Glaser,
Yeah.
Executive Performance. Yeah,
that's right.
So, and it's great that not only are you bringing you and your life experience to the masses, but you've also been trained in some specific assessment tools where you can help people understand what fills their tank, what makes them tick, what do they really truly want to do to be their best selves. So it's been great to be a witness to everything you're bringing to the world.
Thank you. It's been awesome working together. So this is a great opportunity for us to share our journeys on this, experience of becoming coaches and launching our businesses, and also now this awesome adventure with Justle. So I'm really glad to be here.
Yeah. Well, and Justle is our purpose here in the world. Justle is to help folks find jobs, and especially with the Great Resignation being what it is, you have it's the Great Resignation and the Great Reshuffling too, where people are moving around. Companies are having a heck of a time getting roles filled. Job seekers are having a heck of a time getting through that job application process. And there are lots of tools out there for the recruiters and the companies to sort through that. But job seekers are kind of just floating out there, and they don't have much in the way of a support network. So when Dan and I started talking about Justle, we thought, what can we do to give folks a way to come together, share ideas, gain insights into how to get some traction, build their brand, all of those things. And we have this great network of our friends and colleagues that we can bring into the conversation. So as we think about what can we do to help folks along that journey, that's the audience here that hopefully will be watching this podcast or listening to this podcast. So with that, I'd say lens in front of you, Allie, you've coached a bunch of folks in that process. What do you see out there as you're working with clients?
Yeah, I'm seeing a lot of burnout and sometimes that sense of desperation, particularly among clients who are out of work and seeking jobs. So there's two types of job seekers, right? Those who are in a position of strength because they're just looking for that next job, but they're already employed or they're not worried about money. And then there are those that have, lost their jobs or out of work for any number of reasons and are feeling the pinch financially and need a job, quite frankly.
Yeah.
So.
And how does that manifest in conversations with your clients? How do those conversations go?
What I've seen is, and what we tend to work on in those situations, and that's not everyone. There are folks who are out there and feeling confident and excited about whatever that next opportunity might be. But where I see the challenges of burnout, and because also part of that burnout, frankly, comes from 24/7 job hunting, right? So it's available to be, if you don't. And so one of the things we talk about is self-care, and what is that? How do we manage a job search in the same way that we manage work-life balance when we're working, right? That we're not, so that desperation can lead to, I need to be on my computer 24/7 on LinkedIn and Indeed and all of the job searching, outlets and networking. And one can't do that 24/7 and be good at it or feel good about it or about themselves after a period of time. So we really work on how do we manage that? How do we balance the rest of who we are and what we are all about, while also trying to find that next great opportunity. So that's one thing.
Right. Yeah. So let's take a persona of, I'm just pulling a name out of a hat. Fred, right? Fred is looking for a role, and it used to just be, well, I'll send in an application through LinkedIn, whatever, I'll get a phone call, I'll have a job in a few weeks. That is no longer the case with everybody floating around out there. It can take months, even if at the end of the day, you're going to get this job. It could take 3 or 4 months just to get through the interviewing and the assessments and the hiring process and the onboarding. And if you have a job, that's great. If you're out there without a job, not so fun. And folks are trying to pay their mortgages. They've got bills, they've got commitments. So that as you alluded to, that can take its toll. And in some cases, people might not have much of a choice. They say, listen, I need a job, I'll take what I can get. But a big part of what you bring to the table is helping folks understand it's not the title, it's not the money, it's what makes your light bulb turn on. It's what lights you up. And Enneagram does some of that. There are lots of assessment tools out there. And if you haven't taken a Myers-Briggs or an Enneagram or Positive Intelligence, it gives you so much insight into who you are and where you might thrive versus, oh, I went to school for this thing, I'm on this trajectory, I have to stay there until I retire. Especially younger folks who don't think anything, or it's less of I'd say it's less of an obstacle to overcome mentally around, well, I'm just going to be here for a couple of years and then I'll be on to the next thing, or even less than that. But folks who might be a little bit further along in their careers are still in that traditional mindset of like, well, I might be here 20 years. Mm-hmm. And that's hard when you're out there after having been at one place for so long. So, good. I know that started with a question and I kept talking. You and I have talked long enough to sure. Or know one another long enough to know that's a challenge I have. So yeah, so let's go back to some of that self-assessment stuff.
Yeah, I can
so tell me
unpack
more
some
about
of that.
Yeah.
For sure. So a couple of things. One is the use of Enneagram. So what is Enneagram? You Myers-Briggs and Positive Intelligence, there's strength finders, there's all sorts of tools out there that coaches and other leadership, folks use. I am trained in Enneagram. Enneagram is about understanding the world through 9 different personality types. And in other words, we all have different lenses through which we see and experience the world. And that is based on our types and our subtypes. And there's a lot there to learn about ourselves. And so how I use Enneagram with clients is, they'll take the assessment and we'll figure out together what is their quote type. And all that allows us to do, it doesn't, some people think, oh, I don't want to be labeled. I don't want to be put in a box. I don't want to, all of a sudden have this insight into the inner workings of my private thoughts. It's not that. It's understanding that everyone has different motivations, underlying motivations for their behavior that they're not even necessarily aware of. And once we know what that is, it helps us to figure out, what do we really want? So it's not just about this is what I do, but really this is why. This is who I'm about and why. And so once we know that, we really do focus on what are the strengths of your type? What are the challenges? So if your challenge is sitting still, what role are you looking for? Is it the same role you've always had where you're sitting behind a desk for 8 hours? Because that might not be what really gets you excited. It just might be, like you said earlier, your trajectory, what you've always done, what you're expected to do. So I like to ask clients, in addition to really looking at their motivations for behavior and their desires, what they value. What do you really value? Whether that's related, it's always related to personality and Enneagram, but it doesn't, they can also be separate conversations where it's, what do you want for yourself? What's your vision? We do visioning work. What's the big goal? What's the big dream? Maybe it's not where you've been, but where you want to be. And then we talk about things like, what's holding you back? What's that negative? That's where positive intelligence comes in. What are Right. In saboteur, we use in coaching, we use saboteur language.
Well, the great thing about the positive intelligence free assessment that's out there is it gives you this great breakdown of what your top saboteurs might be, so you can be aware of them. And I've done it, and there's some elements there of perfectionism and achiever, and sometimes good is okay. Good is good and done is better than perfect and not done, right? So they're pretty insightful. And for our persona of Fred, who's out there interviewing, having that inner dialogue of, here's what I want, when he's out there talking to a company. I think the client you were referencing had some stress about, well, I really need this job and I really need to be the best candidate in their eyes. They need to be the best company in your eyes too. And that's hard to keep front of mind if you're under a lot of pressure to get that next gig. But you don't want to get there and be miserable or not being your best self, right?
That's right. So there's a few things that with that particular client and others like him, we talk about a number of different strategies. One is strategy of entering into the interview as though it's just a conversation. It's just about exploring another option, because interviews are often, we put the pressure on the interviewee, when really, whether you're needing that job or just wanting that job, it should be about exploring this opportunity from a place of strength. Is this something that's for me? Is this what I want? Oftentimes, even once clients receive offers, and I have a client I was working with recently who had multiple offers, and they were like, I don't know which one to take. And so it was really about, what is the, looking at them. And I always pose this question. I'm like, if you couldn't put your new job, the one that you do take, on LinkedIn or Facebook. You couldn't shout it out or tell anyone. You just quietly sign the offer. You show up at work a couple of weeks later and you go about your business. Which job would you take? Would you take the one that gave you the title and the maybe money? I mean, money's a factor. We all have to get what we're worth, right? But
Sure.
Sometimes we focus too much on what is it going to sound like when I tell people about this? Are they going to be like, oh, you took a step down? But you're like, oh my God, I've never been more passionate and excited about a job in my life. But yeah, maybe it's a different title. Who cares?
Right. Yeah. And that is such a powerful question. And you posed it to me when I was in transition.
I think I did.
Yeah. And that really resonated with me because I had different things that I was contemplating, and I'm so happy with the decision I made and where I'm at. But a year ago, 2 years ago, 5 years ago, would I have done that? Right. So and then I think we're so on in social media, and the social pressure is there. I mean, LinkedIn has kind of become a Facebook it's a Facebook for professionals. So you see folks out there just knocking it out of the park, doing these amazing things. There's studies out there about how spending too much time watching all of that can make you feel down about yourself. So that's a powerful question. And I think for folks who are watching this, listening to this, it's important to keep in mind as you're looking at those opportunities, contemplating offers, what's really going to truly make me happy and leverage all of my superpowers versus what's just going to look good title money wise.
That's right. Absolutely. And what I also find, frankly, is we think that people are analyzing everything that we put up there, right? And they're just like, oh, Ernie got a new job. Congratulations. Like if you ask them like a week later about Ernie's new job, they'd be like, oh yeah, I think I saw that on LinkedIn. Like they're not gonna even know.
They might have like processed that for a second and a half of their lives, right? That's we're not that important.
That's right. Yeah. And people that are close to you, all they want, and who will know and who are more invested, they just want you to be happy.
Right.
They just want you to come home happy at night, go to work in the morning, excited about your job. And how many of us can say that? I have a couple of jobs going on, with my teaching and my full-time job and now launching our coaching work. I honestly don't know many people who can say I have 3 jobs and I love each and every one of them. And and I really do. And whether I've been doing it for 20 years or for a year and a half, I show up. I'm all in. I love what I do.
Right. And that's, I believe that is you and I talked about your 3 big, let's call them pillars of what you bring to the table. And I think I jotted them down here, and be all in is one of them.
Yeah.
Right? So it's just a conversation, be all in, fully commit, and choose the best fit for you and your values when you're talking to folks who are in transition or are looking for the next thing.
So, and just to say a little bit more about be all in. So it's, when I launched my business, like sort of that's what I'm asking myself, what am I about? There's a million coaches out there. What do I bring? And one of the things that I bring is this level of energy and passion and engagement about what I do. And I thought about what it means to be all in. And for me, it came down to a continuum of how engaged are you in anything. That it doesn't have to be about job searching. It's about your current job, your future job, your job search, your relationships, your volunteer activities, whatever it is that you do. Are you engaged, or are you like distracted? Are you energized? Or are you exhausted? Are you strategic? Are you just being reactive? Oh yeah, I'm going to take that interview. Well, really? Would you actually take the job if you got it? How confident are you? Versus indecisive, and finally, how vibrant are you? Because when you're all of those things, which tie together to practicing, I call it self-care. Is a lot of work around self-care. Others call it work-life balance. That's what that's basically. And if you're not all in and you're not practicing good self-care, you're not you're not going to put off that vibe of what it takes to really land a good job, right? You're going to be exhausted and you're going to be kind of dull, and people want energy, and they want maybe not as much energy as I sometimes bring. Sometimes I got to tone it down, but those are all really connected, and I think just extremely important to how we go about our business.
Mm-hmm. That's great. That's great. Well, let's see. So we have a quirky question we ask folks as we get towards the end of the discussion, which this has been a great discussion, Allie. We really appreciate you coming to chat with us today. Let's see. I think the question we had for you here was, if you were stranded on a desert island, which famous person would that be that would be there with you, and why?
Okay. So many to choose from, right? I'm gonna go with Oprah. Oprah.
Because she brings so many books with her?
Well, I know I'd have good reading material, so that's she has lots of favorite things, right? So at some point, if we don't get off the island, which admittedly, I think she has the resources to help get us off the island. So
that's true. That's true. She can just dial up a helicopter. That's true.
Good
planning ahead there. Yeah.
I'm nothing if not. See, being all in is about being strategic as well. Part of it. I admire her. I admire her as an entrepreneur, as a successful woman, as a business person, and she's also compassionate. She has empathy. She's warm. She shares my birthday. A little fun fact. So that would kind of be cool. I guess if we were stranded on our birthday, we would, again, I think she'd figure out a way to have some sort of celebration.
Right. There would be quite a bit of catering involved. Yes. Mm-hmm.
You know, I love food, so that works. Yeah. So I mean, there's so many people, but I think I wouldn't mind hanging out with Oprah for a while if I had the opportunity, or, let's go with Oprah.
Excellent. All right. Well, maybe we can get Oprah on the podcast, and we'll have you back, and that would be amazing. Maybe after a few months of us having a presence out there. Yeah. Give us time.
Well, we want her to put justle as one of her favorite things.
We'll have to write a book.
We can do that.
We sure can.
We can do that.
See, I love our conversations. Well, Allie, looking forward to more conversations with you. But thank you so much for coming and being a guest here and sharing what you're bringing out into the world. And I wish you best of luck on the journey. And we'll talk again soon.
This was great.
And hey, if folks out there would like to be on our podcast, whether you're on a job search, have been through a job search, and would like to share your journey, if you're a coach who has worked with clients or a recruiter, feel free to reach out to us at hello@justle.co. That's hello@justle.co. Thank you so much, Allie. We'll see you next time.
Take care.
Bye.